Okay, so we just learned about Satan, type of serpentine being. Now, when we look further down, um, we find here that the dragon, basically, we learn is Satan, or we can call him Lucifer. It's the same being anyway. Just as we understand that the poet, I think his name's Ovid. I could leave a link down. Um, and basically he says that that Lucifer marshaled the angels, well, not the angels, but the stars to fall from the sky, kind of thing, or to leave their position in the sky, which is just the same as saying that the dragon swept the stars from heaven to the earth, kind of thing, in Revelations 12. So it gives you a good description of how Satan works, okay, and how he fell with the angels with him, took the angels down to the earth. They fell from heaven, to the earth, and earth could be translated as Eretz or Arts, which in the Canaanite language would be called Hades or netherworld. So earth could possibly get translated as netherworld, and other than it just being just the earth. I suppose in a sense you could say because hell is under the ground of the earth, it's like hell can still is still kind of in a sense connected to the earth anyway, maybe through caves, etc. So I think that's possibly one of the reasons why it can be translated as that when it's talking about Satan being cast to the ground, or or the earth. As that is a form of, this is from Michael Heiser's analysis in biblical studies. It makes a lot of sense there. Um, so anyway, so we've got here Revelations 13, and it says here, and they worshipped the dragon, Lucifer, which is the Lucifer, which gave power unto the beast. So this is actually talking about the world worships the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, right? And they worship the beast, and this is the beast of the sea. Now you can read through it, and but I'm having to shorten this because it takes a lot of time to go through it. To go through all the scriptures, right? So I'm getting the most important ones to point out the ones so we can actually figure out what's actually going on here. So basically, this is the beast of the sea, right? This is what I'm going to be calling this, and the beast of the earth would be the false prophet, okay? But we'll get to that later. So the dragon Lucifer was worshipped in the ancient past. There's a future. In the future, the world will worship him again, and they will also worship the beast of the sea also in the future, whoever this beast is, which is who we're going to look into. So anyway, we have here in Revelations 13, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw the beast rise up out of the sea, having the 7 heads, blah, blah, blah. And then number verse 2, and the dragon, Lucifer, gave him his power, right? This is the dragon's power, okay? Which basically means marvelous works. If you look into the Greek, it actually means marvelous works, okay? And his seat, so that a seat is basically his throne. This is kingship status and great authority, okay? So he gave him his own great authority, because we understand that Lucifer was perceived as a type of king of the gods type of thing, but he's also a king because of a physical king. You have to understand. So he's working through humans that are kings, like maybe the Romans, for example, a Roman king, for example, or emperor, something like that, So this is just an example that Satan has power because of a physical king, which will eventually be the Antichrist. It's a physical man that he works through. Now look at the word gave. The beast becomes powerful because Lucifer gave him his power and great kingship. So Lucifer in Revelation 13 has kingship status, meaning his power, seat and throne, authority, etc. We will look at how Lucifer was perceived by the ancients under different god names. Lucifer is a king, Revelation 13, we understand. The Roman god Jupiter, a form of Lucifer, was called king of the gods. We just went through all of that. We don't need to go through all of that. Only king has power, a seat, throne, and great authority, we understand. Lucifer, Jupiter gives a kingship status to the beast. Beast will be king in the future. So the beast is a king mentioned later in Revelation 17. Okay, now let's just read this. And Revelation 17, the seven-headed scarlet beast of the sea. Verse 9, the seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are seven kings, five are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth. Okay, this is the eighth king. Okay, but he's a spiritual being. You have to remember. You could say that Lucifer, just now is a type of eighth king, but because he's given his authority and power to the beast, this is why the beast is now becoming the eighth king, and is of the seven. He's connected to the seven kings, and goeth into perdition. This is how I would translate that as, that he's connected to these seven, because he's a spirit being, in another dimension, but he's working with these seven kings at the same time, right? So some of them had already fallen in the past. He worked with them, okay? But we'll make sense of this later on. So the beast of the eighth king, in unity with the seven kings, it's important to understand this. He is not the seven kings, but is a separate king who is connected to the seven other kings, to the other seven. So hopefully this is starting to make a bit more sense to people, that a spirit being can also have a type of kingship status, right? A bit like Jupiter, the king of the gods, for example. Yeah. So Revelations 11 and 17, it states that where the beast comes from, right? Where does he come from? He comes from the bottomless pit. Okay? So he's a spirit being that comes from the bottomless pit. Revelation 17, it tells you who it is, right? You have to remember, this is not the system. This is talking about the spirit being. Okay? So just think of a spirit being, and that there's other seven beings that are human kings. Okay, five have already died in the past. Okay, five have fallen. And anyway, so it says here, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. So we know that this is the location of where it comes from, bottomless pit. I don't know exactly where the location is of the bottomless pit, but in the world, but it's important to understand that bottomless pit is where he comes from. Revelations 11, 2 witnesses in Jerusalem, right? And when they shall have finished their testimony, this is the 2 witnesses, the beast that ascendeth, okay, out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and overcome them and kill them. You have to remember, this is not talking about Satan. You see, the dragon later on in Scripture gets put into the bottomless pit, okay? So the beast and Satan are not the same beings, right? It's very important to understand that, right? So remember that the beast becomes a king because Lucifer gives his throne to the beast and his power and great authority in Revelation 13. The beast of the bottomless pit is the 8th king in Revelation 17 also, okay, as we've just learned. The beast of the king makes war, comes to the bottomless pit. Now when we go to Revelations 9, it talks about a king over the locusts. Basically, it doesn't say he comes from the bottomless pit, but he's a king, he's an angel of the bottomless pit, okay? So this is also getting to learn his name. And basically it says here about the locusts, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. So this is basically, now let's look into, when we look into Revelations 9, we have the angel of the bottomless pit, Apollyon, king over the locusts, right? And we've just learned that he's the 8th king, remember? He is the angel of the bottomless pit, so he's actually an angelic being, just like Lucifer was a type of cherub, angel, fallen angel. So we got here, Apollyon is actually a type of sun god to the ancients. Abaddon definition means destroyer, destroying angel. This is from Bible Hub. And Apollyon, the Greek name meaning destroyer, given in Revelations 9:11, for the angel of the bottomless pit. In one manuscript, instead of Apollyon, the text reads Apollo, the Greek god of death and pestilence, as well as of the sun, music, poetry, crops and herbs, medicine. Apollyon is no doubt the correct reading. And then we've got W. Max Muller, for example, a leader of the solar school and a firm believer in the solar nature of Apollo, observed, the ancients derived Apollyon from Apollinae in the sense of destroyer. So the beast Apollyon has been worshipped in ancient times, right? Apollo, sun god, war god, using bow to shoot arrows that causes plagues, as he was known to have a bow. There's also Apollyon statue, and of course the Greeks, had identified Apollo with the Horus sky god. So now Horus' right eye is the sun, and his left eye is the moon. In the statue of Apollo, his left eye is missing. It was carved this way, as you can, you'd be able to see if you looked at it, at the statue. Apollo is the one-eyed god, and his right eye has to be the sun, as Apollo was seen as a type of sun god, and he was also connected to Horus, which means that the Sphinx of Egypt is actually Horus, which means that the Sphinx of Egypt is actually Apollyon. Horus, the Wadjet, the eye of Horus, because the Sphinx is called Horus, this also means the Sphinx of Egypt. Yep, it's Apollyon, the beast of the bottomless pit. So if you ever look at the Sphinx of Egypt, you're actually looking at Apollyon, the beast from the bottomless pit. We've got Helios is another form of Apollo. In later times, Helios was considered being the god of light, Apollo. So, and you also have what you call the eye of Helios, the all-seeing eye of Helios, which is found in Freemasonry. So that's actually the eye. The eye of Freemasonry is actually the eye of Apollo. Hindu sun god Surya's Greek counterpart is Helios, and the Egyptian sun god Ra. Ra we also know to be another aspect of Horus. Surya is Apollyon, the sun god. So we have Lucifer mainly connected with lightning, and we have Apollyon connected mainly with the sun and all-seeing eye aspect. Both of these angels were seen as supreme deities to the ancient Romans and other civilizations. Apollyon in religion, they basically talk about how he was depicted as in an unfavorable light, as well known, after the poet makes Apollo the leading god of the Trojans. The following passage from the Iliad is representative of the archaic Apollo, being in fact the first Apollonian epiphany in Greek literature. Basically, they just say that down he strode, wroth at heart, bearing on his shoulders his bow and covered quiver. The arrows rattled on the shoulders of the angry god as he moved, and his coming was like the night. Then he sat down. Basically, you can read these if you want to. You can pause it and read these. Just about him, being destructive, basically. And basically, it appears that so it appears that they're both beings of supreme type beings. Now, what I found interesting. So we've just learned that the dragon is Lucifer and the beast is Apollyon. Right? Both spirit beings. But in the next, we're gonna look further on in my next video anyway. Hopefully this helps to clear things up. This is what makes the most sense to me anyway. So anyway, bye for now.